Hi folks, I'm Laura Valenti. I am a photographer and a curator, and I teach a lot of different photography e-courses, not so much about the technical side of things, but more like the creative practice side of things. So personal vision and voice, portfolio building, creative confidence, things like that. And this is my little studio space in my house. And today I'm really excited. We're going to do like a crafty little project because I've been really excited lately about like little assemblages, the idea of doing little assemblages or collages. And this, I guess, is something that I've been doing really for a while. I think actually I made, the first one I ever made was when I was in high school. I got this beautiful old tin that was really rusted. And then I found these old cabinet cards, like really old photographs in a beautiful little mat, you know. I found some of those. And so I stuck this portrait of this old, interesting looking man into this beautiful tin. And then I had this vintage lace doily in there as well as part of that like little assemblage. I wish I could find that for you. It exists somewhere. It's somewhere in the house, I think in the basement in a box. But I made this other one more recently, and this is a contact printer, a vintage contact printer. On the other side, there is a piece of glass, and then you sandwich in a negative and a piece of paper, and you can make a print in the sunlight or what have you. And I combined that with some game pieces from an old antique Chinese game that we've had in my family since I was a kid because I grew up in Asia. So that's been beating around in the collection for close to 50 years. And then a little Buddha that my grandparents used to be theirs. Some beads, and also there is a prayer scarf from Eastern Tibet when I went there and led a photo workshop there a few years ago. So I just combined all that together into this beautiful little like altarpiece kind of assemblage. And that doesn't have any photographs in it, but it still has that little piece of photographic equipment in there, you know, and that just excited me. And so I've been thinking about different ways that I could combine photographs with neat objects, but also really wanting to stay away from like tired tropes, you know, that are like used too much. Then I thought, why don't I use my own photographs and then put them in beautiful vintage frames? And I thought it'd be really fun to go very small and just make some intimate little pieces. So I have this collection that I've been gathering frames for a while at antique stores, little consignment shops, things like that. And I have a few today that we're going to play with. It's a whole new territory for me because when you start working like this, the pieces are one of a kinds because these frames are, you know, I can't just go out and buy 10 of them. It's just the one of a kind frame and then making a print to fit that frame. So I've never editioned my photographs. I've never really felt like I wanted to do that because I want to sell as many prints as people would like to buy. I don't want to limit myself, and that's never hurt me. But with this, it's an edition of one. So one and done, that's it. And that's going to be interesting to sell these pieces as just true one-of-a-kind pieces. But also this really, really appeals to me because I used to be a picture framer many, many years ago when I was like just out of college. I was a picture framer for a couple years. And so it's so nice to dip back into that, even with these tiny little pieces. Anyway, I'm going to show you what we're working on. Some of these frames are just stunningly beautiful, and I can't wait to share it with you. So I got this gorgeous little gold frame the other day, and I just love it. It's quite old. I love how it scoops in like that, and it hangs with this little circle right there. So I'm just going to take out the little framing points in the back. I spent a couple years working as a picture framer, and I really love and value that work. I value having those skills. I don't have all the tools anymore, but it's just a great skill set. And it's really nice, calming work too. That's what I always appreciated about it. Just quietly working with the materials, making beautiful things. That's kind of a lovely piece just in its own right, this little tiny painting. So then it's a matter of figuring out what will look best in here, you know? And I think that I just need to play with a lot of different pieces, a lot of different images, and just kind of see what I think. And then an image is just going to pop. It's just going to sing. It's just going to feel right. Now, a lot of the images they're bigger. So I could print the images at a smaller size. So that's an option. But yeah, just gonna kind of, this one's sort of neat. I would hate to lose the couch down here with this beautiful floral pattern, but I love that this is a old antique frame. There's a piece of glass in it and then my reflection. So it looks like there's a woman in the painting, but actually it's just my reflection in the glass. It'd be kind of fun to do this with it. But then I would lose this, which is just so beautiful. I could make it a bunch smaller, but then I think it would lose some of its oomph if this was just really, really tiny in the frame, you know? Okay, so one of the reasons that I started out talking about making assemblages, and then we moved into just using vintage frames with my photographs, is because I started to feel, when I thought about making, like I'm still very interested in making assemblages and selling those maybe, but I feel like I have a lot more research to do in that area, because when I started to really think about that, it's like I know how to frame, right? And I know how to use all of the beautiful archival materials and how to do it right so that those pieces will really last for people, so that I could feel confident about selling something like that and having it hold up, you know, over time and look really beautiful. And with assemblage pieces, I'm not as confident with that. I would love to talk to some people who do a lot of like collage assemblage type work. Because like if you have a photograph in an assemblage that is just open air, there's no glass, there's no protection, and the paper then is subject to like curling, and you're using glue to glue different objects on your assemblage. I've got some really beautiful archival glue, but you know, the person buys it and then they hang it over a heat vent, and then the glue dries, or they hang it in a bathroom, and then the steam from the shower starts curling the paper in the assemblage. So there are lots of variables there, and I just am not as confident with that. But I love the idea of combining some beautiful little vintage things with my photographs, and the frame is like a controlled environment where I felt like I could do that a lot more safely. So that's what I'm starting with, and I'm loving it. I'm just loving it. And maybe eventually I will transition into kind of getting my toes wet a little bit with some more assemblage type stuff. But yeah, more variables with that stuff, you know? I think what I'm going to do now is take apart, I'm going to deconstruct all of these while I'm at it. This is just a gorgeous, gorgeous frame. I don't know when this is from, maybe the 1920s. Portland, Oregon, Lipman Wolf and Co. Yeah, never heard of that. This is an old piece. And it was nailed in little tiny nails, not framing points. So when I was a picture framer, what we would do is we'd have our work table, and then we would coat it with layer after layer after layer after layer of brown butcher paper. And every time the paper would get kind of old and ripped up, we would just put another layer on top. Maybe once a year we would remove all the layers and start fresh again. But what that did is it made the surface firm but soft. It was like a little cushioned. So I've got this gorgeous frame. I don't want to be rubbing it on my wooden table, you know, and pressing it down. That's dangerous. Could damage it. So the butcher paper layers was such a great solution. If I do this sort of thing with these little frames more regularly, I'll want to have some kind of softer workspace solution. All right, it's like a little time capsule in here. Okay, now I'm interested to see if the off-gassing from this photographic print from the chemistry has damaged the glass. It's really nice that they did put a little bit of a matte in there so that the print wasn't pressed up against the glass. That is damaging. It can make the print stick to the glass over time. And so the matte is a really smart move. You want to be able to separate the print from the glass in some way, if it's a thin matte or if it's these little plastic spacers, either way, but you have to do something to separate the print from the glass. I don't know what I'm going to do with this wonderful grandma. The price tag on this frame when I bought it said instant grandma. Oh, I wonder who this woman was, what her story was. There's this really wonderful kind of chemistry funkiness that's happening in the darker tones, which is fantastic. I love that. I think I'll keep her. But all right, behind her, we've just got basic cardboard. That is not acid-free. That's just, yeah, crummy materials. Okay, but isn't that stunningly beautiful? Gosh, I love that. Now it has little tiny bits of damage on it, but I think that's just part of the beauty of the piece, you know, the patina. Okay, so this is the fun part, to just experiment with different photographs and different frames. I always loved this photograph. You can see very faintly here that there's a little landform in the distance that's just covered up by some beautiful fog, and this little trail that goes out there. It feels like it would be really beautiful in there. Kind of like a little portal leading us in to that landscape. That's a possibility. And then this is the other one that I thought of. That's pretty beautiful too. Ooh. Looks so unusual in this frame. I think one of the things that's coming up for me as I'm trying to decide which image to pair with this frame is I want it to be pretty simple because the frame is pretty ornate. So if I have a complex image in there, it could compete with it too much, you know? So I don't know. I don't think that's right. I think this one interests me the most right now. Possibly that one. I have this little felted coaster that I knit and then felted. So I'm going to use that as my little soft spot to place my frames for now. That's actually perfect. Oh, there was no glass on this one. For some reason, I didn't quite realize that. It's just this weird little baby girl or doll. She looks kind of like a doll. Little painting. No date. No artist's name. She's a little creepy. But look at that. That's pretty, isn't it? Okay, then I got this. Hi! That's kind of funny. This old mirror. I just think this edge is so lovely. Isn't that pretty? And so when I bought it, I thought, ooh, I could put a small photograph just on the mirror here, and maybe something like this would actually be a really cool combination with the mirror. I could make a tiny print of this with my reflection in the glass and just adhere it to the mirror. That could be cool. But I think I actually want to try taking the mirror out and just using it as a frame. So let's see how that goes. This is nailed in too. Okay, oh, there's one more nail there. Don't break the glass, right? There's the camera. So yeah, this could be made into a regular picture frame. I could reuse the same holes, could put the nails back in, maybe some slightly larger nails. We'll see. That would take a little bit of figuring out to get that secure in the back. Okay, one more. This beautiful, tiny square frame, lovely designs. It has a little tiny bit of damage. Oh, I thought that was damage, but it wasn't. It was just some wax on there. Okay, that's nice. All right, now if I was still a picture framer, I would have a razor blade to cut off the dust cover, but we're just going to use a rusty nail. Don't worry, I have my tetanus shot. I just ordered some of these little felt bumpers so that I can make the backs of the frame really nice and finished. There we go. But this is great because my images are square, so I'm sure I can find something that will be a lovely fit in here, and I'll clean that off, touch it up a little bit. That's beautiful. So this is just a stack of work prints, and I just thought I would play with them. Of course, I can resize any of the photographs and I'll make new prints because these are all a little bit dinged and damaged, but I can just use them to envision what the different frames would look like with these images. And I can even kind of move the frame up and down to, let me see if I can replicate that for you, to imagine the prints at different sizes. That is kind of helpful. And some of them will need to be cropped, right, to go in the frame because I don't shoot in this format. So some of them would crop well and some of them wouldn't. Like I think this one actually really wouldn't because the vines over here are so much a part of the image. I just love those vines. I'd have to find a small square frame for those. And I don't think that a frame like this, let's see if I can show you how that might look. I don't think that this frame would really work well with this print, a tiny version of this print, because it's too complex. So I think this one also needs a really simple image in it. See what else I have that catches my eye. Ooh. This is an old book that I found on the edge of the road in a small town in Italy. The town where my ancestors are from is just lying on the side of the road, moldering beautifully. That's kind of pretty. Could be nice in there too, actually. Ooh, I kind of like that. It'd be very tiny in the frame if I made a teeny tiny little print. I'd make a much smaller print. Otherwise, you know, we lose too much of it. Birds. I'm kind of liking these very spare seascapes with these more ornate frames. There's something really pretty about that. Maybe I'll do a whole set of these as seascape images. Wow, I sort of like that idea. Oh, now that's pretty neat. This is the shadow of my hand throwing a stone into a well. You can see the splash there from the stone. This is pretty, but if I did it in here, we would lose a lot of that beautiful splash. You see that? I have a lot of these prints that I tried on different paper stocks, and I tried with different levels of toning. So this one is quite warm. That's beautiful. I love that. This one, I wrote on it, it's flawed. Ooh, this one could be neat. This one I took at just after 6 a.m. high up on a mountain pass in eastern Tibet. Lots of thick, soupy fog. You can see the trees there through all of the fog, and then these two electrical wires up above. That would actually be pretty neat in here. Ooh, I kind of like that. It's weird, but beautiful. Oh, maybe this one. Ooh. Ooh, maybe this one would be great in one of these frames. Maybe this. Gosh. This is a lake called Lake Ohrid in North Macedonia, and it is winter and it's snowing. You can see the little flakes of snow over the dark water. Something really simple like that could be gorgeous. Gosh, so many options. This is also kind of a cool way to choose images. Oh my gosh. Ooh, that one could be neat. And I have so many images that I just haven't printed yet, but this one is me holding a pomegranate in Bosnia. I love that I was wearing like a red sweater and it matches that sort of ruddy pomegranate color. But ooh, there's something so kind of symbolic about that image. A little magical, some witchy symbolism. Kind of love it. Oh my gosh, this is fun to do. It's so fun. This hand and trail image. Ooh. An eclipse image. Lots of options. Okay, so then I got really excited about the idea of using this photograph that I made the other day on a whim that I had not printed yet. And the photograph is this resist fist. You know, the resist fist? And it just I just really felt compelled to make this piece the other day. Also kind of cool to have a woman's fist in the resist fist motif, because I guess it's always a man's fist, I think, right? So I thought it'd be interesting to have a woman's fist and with a painted fingernail. I've been painting my fingernails lately for fun. But that stood out to me as something that could be kind of powerful and symbolic in a way of so many different things, like what's happening politically in the country right now. Also feminist rage, you know, got a lot of reasons to feel feminist rage. And self-empowerment, right? So I made this piece, I made this photograph, and I thought, how beautiful would it be in one of these vintage frames? It'd be such a cool combination. So that's what I did. This is the paper we're printing on today. One of my all-time favorites. Gorgeous, gorgeous paper. So I got this tiny, tiny little circular mat cut. A framer here in town did it for me on a computerized mat cutter, which is really the only way that you could make something perfect and circular like this. I definitely couldn't do it by hand. I don't know if anybody could, but isn't that perfect? So it's a 1/16 of an inch, which is great for this small frame because it's not very deep in the back. So I'm going to use this to separate the print from the glass. So I bought the frame with this lovely, very delicate little flower, and we replaced it with something a little more intense. And that feels about right, you know? There's a time and a place for each one of these energies. I think the kind of weird combination and disconnect of this very ornate gold frame and this vintage style with this powerful symbol and expression is really pretty pleasing to me. Pretty pleasing. Can you imagine hanging that? Oh my gosh, I love it. I think it would be really, really nice in an array with, you know, a few other pieces that were very complementary. That makes me so happy. I love that. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it so much. Oh my gosh. It's like innocuous at first, or it's a little under the radar because it seems vintage, but then there's this like, power. Love it. So I used some beautiful Japanese washi paper to make a dust cover on the back of the frame. I grew up in Japan, and so I have a lot of really beautiful washi paper. And then I'm just going to use this straight razor to cut delicately around the edge and then take off the excess paper. And I just love the idea of doing a decorative dust cover instead of just the brown butcher paper like folks usually do. It's so pretty and sort of adds this nice feminine flair to the piece. It's sort of like there's party in the back and business in the front with that tough symbolism in the front, you know? And that really appeals to me. Just a little extra magic in the back. I think these things are kind of like gummy bears. You cannot have just one. You gotta have, you know, you can't just have one on a wall. You can't just make one. You gotta keep making them, and then you want a collection on the wall. You want 3 of them at least, I think, or 5, or 9. I just love them. Okay, so now we're going to work with this lovely image from the Oregon coast, the grasses in the dunes and that beautiful hillside and the fog in the distance. And I made a couple different prints. I like the print very light and airy so that foggy landscape in the back is just enough there to appreciate, but it really fades into the distance beautifully. So I made a slightly darker print on the right and then a slightly lighter print on the left. And then I need to play with trimming it the right size for the frame and figuring out the placement, exactly where I want the trim to be in the frame. And then I decided to use this beautiful, beautiful handmade paper for a dust cover. And I just love all the colors in that. It's so beautifully handcrafted. And it also kind of reminds me of the ocean. And this photograph was made right next to the Pacific Ocean. So it has that little ocean flare in the back. But I am so happy with the way that turned out. I feel like that decorative dust cover is just a little bit of a grace note. Like you hang it on the wall and nobody can tell it's there, but you know it's there. All right, folks, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for joining me in the studio today. It was really fun to share this with you. If one of these pieces needs to come home with you, they are both available for purchase. I'll put the link just down below the video in the show notes there. Keep in mind that they are both one-of-a-kind pieces. So yeah, I think that's all I have to share with you guys this week. But I hope you're well and happy photographing out there. Bye. If you'd like to explore creative ideas like these in more depth as they relate to your own photography, there are many different ways to work with me. I have a series of online courses, most of which you can start as soon as you sign up. Some focus on the creative side of the practice, and some are more professional track classes. And I also do one-on-one mentoring with students around the world. That's where we meet on Zoom or phone and do a deep dive on your archives, on any challenges you're working through, your current projects and goals, and I'll help you gain clarity and momentum with those things. Mentoring will feel really helpful if you're stalled or unsure about your next steps. With all of my offerings, I bring 20 plus years as a curator, photographer, gallerist, professional portfolio reviewer, educator, and juror to the table. I give you all my best guidance and support. The links are below for all my current online classes and to schedule a mentoring session with me. And if you enjoyed this video, please share. It does help support the work I do. Okay, happy photographing out there. Be well.